Tell me if this sounds familiar. A person joins a community, this one simply being for beatboxing. But they decide to try and be friendly with everybody that's in it. So they make friends, they do beatboxing, and they get a promise of fame, and a competition that's made by one of the more popular members of the community. It's a promise that you never want to give up on. It's a promise you promise yourself that you will never give up on. But alas, that person, in the end, makes a couple mistakes, and they get cast away from it, never to be seen or remembered again. That's a ban in the Cartoon Beatbox Battles community Discord servers. That's what it's like. A person joins, they make friends, they get a promise, they make a mistake, and they get banned. And they get hated on. But what's truly the problem with it? I mean, you're just discarding the people that are making the community more imperfect. Well, it's not necessarily making the community perfect, but it's just stalling. And perhaps it could be the person banning that's at the fault. Allow me to explain. If you've never been banned from a Cartoon Beatbox Battles Discord server, and I really hope you don't, let me explain how it feels. When you get that promise of fame, and people knowing your name after so long of just hiding in the shadows, it's the most important thing that you've ever felt, and you feel really good. But, alas, if you ever make a mistake, as I've said in one of my past videos, that the CBB community is very fragile, and it's very, very sensitive. So if you make a mildly severe mistake, or do something to offend anybody, you'll get banned. The legitimate sadness is like, breaking up with somebody, except it lasts for so long. And the problem is, adding insult to injury, you get hated on for it for an extremely long time. Hell, it could never stop. Mario T used to be hated on for almost over a year for something he'd done about a year ago. Imagine how he'd felt after people bringing something up that he'd done over a year ago, just to have an excuse to hate him and exclude him. Though he's not the only one. Me, and some other people have also felt this. Some other people have recently been banned, such as Super Sam, who's been banned for some controversies as to which I don't want to bring up. But the problem is, he's going to be hated on for a lot longer than he wants to. And the problem is, they want to come back, but not to reclaim the fame that they were promised, but just to have it like it was normally. Friends with everybody, no matter the popularity, but friends with how many people that were in the community that they wanted to be friends with. Allow me to explain the faults with bans. Before somebody's banned from a server, they don't focus on what they have, but they focus on what's coming in the future. When they're banned from a server and hated on, they're focusing on coming back and reclaiming what they had, so it can feel normal to them again. But the problem is, when they're banned, people try and keep them out for as long as physically possible, so they can be discouraged and left out. But the problem is, when the people are at the striking hand, they don't know how it feels, because they're not the ones being hated on. They don't know what it's like to be excluded and wanting to come back to what they had for so long. Said by many people, the community is and or was their family, and they want to come back to it. They won't move on. They want to reclaim what they had, the friendship. But the popular people would always think it's the fame, the promise of fame, and the promise of popularity that they want. But the popular people, ironically, are the people more worried about fame than they are with the friendship. That may be a little over-exaggerated, but the more popular people are more obsessed with the fame than the people that are not exactly popular. The unpopular people are more focusing on the friends side of things until they get popular. When they get popular, they become more like they become more of a personality, I would say. And the problem is, they won't take into account what they used to come from. They came from nothing. But the people that are stuck there, they're not being taken into account. The ones that are banned, the ones that have nothing. The problem with it is that they don't want anything to do with popularity until they get back. They want their family back. They miss them. And a case as to which has happened many, many months ago that's still being taken into account is one I like to address. This is my own story and the fault as to why I was banned. Alright, so for an example, here's my story. My story, back in October of 2020, I was looking at Super Hatman's channel because I was interested on his ranking of the Cartoon Beatbox Battles beatboxers. But then I saw that he had auditioned for Donkey Cheese's YBB Season 2. I'd thought of a similar idea before, but I was happy to see that somebody had already came up with the idea, and I wanted to join. So, I made a hashtag that was saying YBB Season 2, and I made it in, until I was promptly kicked out. But then I made friends with Hydro, who took me in for a second, and then I joined some other servers, Ali Mohamdani's server, and Hydro server. Hydro server at the time was not that popular, and most people focused on Ali's server before. It was a small community with 90-ish members, and we all frequently talked. It was extremely active, but not quite as active as Hydro's server before Ace joined. Which is ironic. You'd think it would be very popular once Ace shouted it out. But if anything, it made it diamond. But regardless, so in January, I decided to try and expand my horizons. Since I hadn't really joined that many YBBs, I figured that I'd start auditioning for more. But Hydro forced his hand, and while I was in Foxy's server, which was very new at the time, February was like when it just started, and wasn't dead, Moxie, Hydro, and I were talking, and he was looking for new matchups for his YBB, Hydro's YouTuber battles. It's pretty new, and nobody really taken it seriously compared to Ollie's YBB or anybody's other YBB similar to that. But in February, he decided to make Moxie vs. Downfall a new matchup. Now, strangely, that didn't even last a month before I was kicked. But what was the controversy? Well, allow me to show you. The controversy involved was me posting an image, this image. Now, that may seem bad, until you take into account that this was a shitpost. Nowhere in Hydra's rules did it ever say that you couldn't allow it. Now, you may be thinking, he didn't specify it, but still, it's close to it. But where in his rules did it specify that you couldn't say anything close to it? I mean, censorship is technically close to it. If anybody censored any slurs, then would that be bad? It's basically the same thing. Changing one letter to make it different is basically the same thing as censoring one letter. And yet, I doubt anybody would really get kicked for that. Would they? But regardless, I joined the HYB private server a few months after that incident, and I came across two people arguing. Zord, before he was confirmed to be in the YBB, and Foxy. They were arguing. And, the language they were using wasn't exactly appropriate. And if anything, it was very hypocritical. Now, I'd been accused for being called a racist for some time, but still. They were using the N-word while arguing against each other, which already strikes a few problems. One, why did I get kicked out for using a word similar to the word that they're arguing nonchalantly with? And if anything, why is Hydro being biased about it? Isn't that unfair? That's the quick problem. That's the main problem with my ban, as to which they can loosely do something that got me banned, except make it worse. And I tried to stop them, but if anything, Hydra just said, oh, they're just joking around. If you post a shitpost, isn't that technically joking around? It's very confusing, if you really think about it too much. But it's simple. Hydra likes them, and you trust them. It's simple. You're just a normal YouTuber that has less than 100 subscribers. They're very popular. Naturally, you'll trust them more. So I'd been an OG, and I'd joined about 5 months before Foxy. So, I don't get it. I could be trusted just as much as she could be. But alas, what it is and what it is. The problems with my ban will forever go unnoticed. Oh well. But, my ban aside, there are some other people who've been banned, such as Tristan Ortiz, or Lois, Lord of All Songs. He'd been banned for using the R slur, which, okay, but isn't that really worth, banning them forever? Banning Lois forever? Is that really worth it? Now, I understand a kick for a while for any of these guys, but the problem is they're being really, really scared. They're being coward-like. They're saying, what if they take the second chance we give them and make it to do something worse? Their mindset changes really quickly after they get banned. And I felt an extreme wash of remorse flowing through my body when I saw that I had been kicked from the server, and I felt dread. And I felt remorse, and I wanted to get back in, apologize, and really, I wanted to just forget about everything. But they won't. The problem with the people controlling it is that they hate people coming back in because they're scared that they'll do something bad. But what if they come back and do something great? What if they do something good? What if they make up for their actions? But the problem is, if you're banned, you're just a bad person. And there's nothing that can happen to change it. Unless if we try and stop it, and form something, I don't know, a loosely formed alliance or whatever, to try and stop the permanent bans. Because it's an actual problem.